Let's talk about the price.
All right, I'm listening. You'll convince me with that price. I hope you'll be satisfied, my friend.
I'm looking for Pavlena, the daughter of the herbwoman from Zhelyov. Do you know her?
Aye, I do. Pavlena still comes here from time to time, selling baskets, ointments and whatnot. I ain't seen her around in a while, though. Why are you looking for her?
She hasn't been home for a long time, so Bozhena sent me to look for her. When she left, she was heading here.
If I was you, I'd go and ask at the rat house. Or Yezhek the Cooper. That old goat had his eye on her one time. Only she wouldn't have him if he was the last man alive. Can't say I blame her. That Yezhek's a drunken sot.
What's this Yezhek like? And what do you mean about him having his eye on Pavlena?
He wanted to get married, and no sensible girl around here would have a drunkard like him, so he figured Pavlena might be an easier bet. He promised her a home in the village, but the girl wasn't so dumb as to fall for it. He's hardly got 2 groschen to rub together, and his house ain't no palace neither. All she'd have out of it is a heartache, and a bunch of brats as pig ugly as their old man.
And where might I find this Yezhek?
If he ain't boozing here at the tavern, he'll be on the way here or at home.
Thanks. And do you think this Yezhek might have done something to her? Like abduct her because she scorned him?
Nah, he ain't got it in him. He's all mouth, but he'd never raise his hand to a woman. And even if he did, Pavlena would probably give him a hiding. Just recently, he got a black eye from this skinny fella here. He's a weakling and a wretch. He wouldn't have a chance with Pavlena.
Do you think anyone would want to harm Pavlena?
Bozhena's not too popular here since that misfortune with Yakesh's wife, Ludmilla. But no one holds a grudge against Pavlena. She was only a young lass at the time.
What was that about a misfortune with Ludmilla?
That was way back. She was the midwife here. She'd give the women herbs and whatnot when they called for her. But then something happened when she was helping out at Yakesh's. His wife, Ludmilla, died, and a child was stillborn. A tragedy it was, and then Bozhena, she left.
Just like that?
Well, to tell the truth, we drove her out.
Oh? Why was that?
Better ask Yakesh if you want to know more. He's often by his son's grave. It's next to the farm.
Can I spend the night here?
Not a chance. Move along, you vagabond.
Whoa! 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 Have you seen a young girl selling baskets here? Her name is Pavlena.
I think I remember. I bought baskets from her once, and they were very finely made. But that was some time ago. Finally.
Let him have peace in death. Amen.
Who are you praying for?
For my son, Yaroslav.
How come he's buried there and not at the cemetery?
He died during birth and was never christened, so he couldn't be buried in the cemetery.
God have mercy. I'm sorry about that.
Aye, me too. If it hadn't been for that treacherous old hag, he wouldn't be here under a tree. He'd be in the churchyard, as he ought to be. The poor, innocent soul. Or standing right here next to me.
Old hag? Who are you talking about?
The midwife, Bozhena. My wife, Ludmilla, gave birth to 3 daughters. Quick and easy every time. The village women often scream all day and night before they bring their babies into the world. Not my Ludmilla. When she had Marushka, it was all over before the midwife even got here. But when Yaroslav was coming into the world, you know, I knew already I'd finally have a son. I never sent for no help. Why would I? After all, Ludmilla done it all on her own 3 times. And besides, that Bozhena is an unclean woman and a witch. Only this time, something went wrong. Of course, I wasn't there. Being a God-abiding man, I was outside. But Marushka comes running out, shouting, "Pa! send for Bozhena. Ma's poorly. I thought twice about it, but then I sent for her. She came along with a little girl, Pavlena, and a whole sack of herbs. She started brewing right away, and before the night was out, she was pouring God knows what kind of concoction down Ludmilla's throat. It's a wonder she didn't poison her, the crone. I couldn't get a wink of sleep all night. It wasn't till daybreak that Bozhena came out of the house, carrying in her arms. They could see right off it was a boy. Like I said, only Yaroslav came out feet first. And as they were pulling him out, well, he was all Mother of God. I can't even say it. It was that Bozhena's doing, I tell you. If she hadn't pulled him out and left Ludmilla to manage herself, he could have lived.
I'm sure Bozhena didn't want to hurt your son. She was trying to help.
Help? By killing my son and condemning him to damnation? I asked the priest, and he told me every midwife has the sacred right to perform baptism when things go wrong. Like when it looks bad for the child, see? She can baptize him, make sure he gets to heaven. And you know what Bozhena did?
What?
Not a thing. She looked at that little body lying still and didn't do a damned thing. And my wife died a few hours later. So don't you tell me Bozhena was trying to help. That same evening, I got the other fellas from the village, and we drove that damned witch out beyond the boundary stone.
I see. She lives in the woods now.
A good thing, too. She hasn't shown up here since. Many times I told myself we should have done more to her, so she'd know how I felt.
Listen, Bozhena's daughter has gone missing, and I get the feeling from what you're saying that you're not exactly unhappy about it. So I'll ask you straight up. Do you know anything about it? Do you want to hurt Pavlena to pay Bozhena back for the death of your son?
I understand why you might think that, but I would never do anything like that. Don't tell nobody, but since Ludmilla died, I go weak at the knees if I only see blood. It's like I'm standing next to her bed, again like that time. I never want to see a corpse again in my life. Besides, if I wanted to get my own back on Bozhena, I'd never take it out on her daughter. The girl's not to blame for anything. She was only little when it happened. I curse that old hag often enough. When I've had a drink or two, I wish the worst on her, so she'd know how I feel. But as God is my witness, I'd never stoop to murder on account of it.
I'd like to ask you more about your son, Yaroslav, if that's all right with you.
Ask away.
When did your son die?
Well, Yaroslav would have been 5 years old now.
What about your other children?
One of my daughters got married and moved out. Marushka and Olina are still here. Once they get married, I'll be left all alone on the farm.
Why? One of them could live on the farm with her husband, couldn't she? Lots of fellows would give the right arm for a place like this.
Aye, true enough. Only a father should pass his livelihood on to his son, goddammit! Don't tell me it's different where you come from.
Well, I only got to know my father recently. He's the royal hetman, Sir Radzig Kobyla.
You, a noble? That's a hard one to swallow.
Just because I'm not dressed up in my Sunday best doesn't mean my father's not a noble. I really am Sir Radzig's bastard. My ma was a commoner, so she couldn't marry Sir Radzig. Fortunately, his loyal subject Martin took her in and raised me like his own.
Out of duty?
To be honest, I couldn't tell you. But however it started, they became close, and later, when they died, Sir Radzig took charge of me. So actually, I have two fathers.
God's will. There are times I wish I'd died before Yaroslav. I'd have saved myself all the misery since then. And all that's still to come.
I don't have any more questions. Thanks.
Oh, aye. Farewell.
What did you get yourself into, lad? Go and see the surgeon before you bleed to death.
I've had worse.